Hey everybody, I wanted to come on and do a little energy report today. So much is going on. We are hopefully going to see ourselves moving forward soon. But I wanted to talk more about what's taking place in the frequencies of the earth and also within our bodies. And on the 18th, 2 days ago, I woke up in the morning and I felt this huge shift, significant shift on the earth. And I sat in it and thought about, what I was feeling, tuning in. And the information that was coming through basically was about balance. And through the universal laws, especially the law of one, um, how everything is one with everything. We are one with everything. Everything is one with us. And when there is something that is out of balance in our reality, it must be brought into balance. And the reason why that's important is because things have been very out of balance lately. The frequencies have been super, super high. I know many of you are feeling them. Um, I'm hearing, people saying that they're having problems with vertigo, which is the Earth, Gaia, energetically advancing, increasing her rotation, increasing her frequency, her oscillation rate. And we are seeing that present in the Schumann resonance as it's measuring these frequencies. And in order for us to, you know, continue to enjoy being on the earth, we have to shift too. We have to shift our electromagnetic field, and our field has to oscillate faster, right? Because if you think about it from a perspective of us being energy, our energy is really about a frequency. The frequency we hold has an oscillation rate because of the spin of our electromagnetic field or our toroidal torus. And that spin, the oscillation of the electromagnetic field, is tied to Gaia. And so when she increases in her spin rate, we have to increase also. And the frequencies that are coming in right now to the planet, a lot of it is gamma, which is that very anxious feeling that we're all having, right? Anxious is gamma runs through our energetic body, basically through our neurological system and also our immune system. And so we're feeling that big time right now as gamma is coming through, and it's a very high frequency, and it makes you feel jittery, it makes you feel anxious, makes you feel like an ever ready rabbit, right? You're always on go, go, go mode, very hard to turn the mind off. We have that monkey mind feeling where we just can't sleep or shut down our thoughts. And then we have this high intensity crystalline energy that is bringing through the solar cosmic Christ, that Christ timeline that we're in. And that is a very high frequency. It's crystalline light that's affecting our light body. And so those two are streaming through very, very high frequency light. We're feeling it. It's making us feel uncomfortable at times when our oscillation rate is slow and it's not up to where it needs to be. We have to lay down and rest. Some of us will feel vertigo. Some of us may feel exhaustion, even though we're wired and feeling like we want to go, go, go. So it requires a lot of rest. The other part of this is that there are times where we're going to be hit with other lights like plasma, these high frequencies, which is like the rotor-rooter in the body. It clears out the distorted energy that has been brought to the surface. It makes your extremities feel very cold, your hands and your feet. Um, and it can make your stomach gurgle. And so we have those energies that we've been playing in for a very long time now, for a few years. And aside from that, we have all new frequencies that are coming in, new light codes that are coming in for the amplification of this ascension timeline that we're on, of this great awakening that is taking place. So everything is being pushed, pulled into balance at this point. And that was the message that I received on the 18th. We are really needing to just be, pull back, allow ourselves to be fully present for whatever is unfolding, and not get attached to any particular timeline, not get attached to what is playing out in the third dimension, right? And so the other day, I had done a video mentioning the Truman Show with Jim Carrey, and that's an older movie from, I think, 1998 or something like that. And the purpose of that movie, as the guides wanted me to watch it and also share on that, is because the perception that Jim Carrey's character Truman held was that he was living in a reality that was real. And at the end of the movie, he finds out that the reality that he's been living in is not real. It was a reality that was created and then fostered by his belief system. And his belief system is what kept him locked into that reality. And there were many, many times throughout the movie where Truman wanted to go to Fiji or go someplace else and was stopped by the characters that were playing their roles in his movie, the movie of him, because it was a movie about Truman, right? They watched him from birth until he finally left. And so it was all of these players in a role that were created specifically for Truman to play his role. So, those of you that follow me know that I talk about this all the time with regard to the soul contracts that we make prior to the incarnation and how we set up our soul's blueprint. And, one of the most important things to remember is that the earth is actually the stage that we have come down to in order to enact the play that of the story of the life that is us, whatever that is for you. And so, if we can remember that the people that are playing those other roles, like our friends, our family, our loved ones, people that we don't know, then we can kind of see where we are in our creation of what is taking place. Because if somebody shows up and challenges you, then you might need that challenge in order to help you grow. If somebody shows up and loves you, it might be that you, in that moment, need to learn what love is so you can understand it at a deeper level, right? But every person in our reality is part of that soul blueprint that we came here to experience. So, what's important in that awareness is that when we are participating in this reality that's being played out in front of us on kind of the grand stage right now, we have to remember that there are many timeline potentials that are playing out, okay? And there is the timeline potential that many of you have reached out to me about, where you are seeing a war or doomsday or something like that. I don't see that timeline. That's just me. I don't hold that timeline vibration. I believe that it's coming up with the rest of the timelines that are presenting in order to clear our field, because that's a very low, dense timeline, and it needs to clear our field. So if you think of timelines as spirals, right? Spirals of energy, um, and they interact with our electromagnetic field. And think about a timeline from the perspective that your mother's on a timeline, your father's on a timeline, your work associates are each on their own individual timeline, and then work is a timeline, and then your animals are each a timeline, and your friends are a timeline, I'm a timeline, and then what is playing out in the government is a timeline. So we have to remember that everything has its own timeline, okay? And that is also a timeline, and that's an old timeline, that's an old story from, past history that timeline is wanting to clear our fields. It's wanting to clear Gaia as part of this bifurcation of 3D and 4D, which means that the two timelines are, in essence, are kind of splitting out. They're merging out, right? So 3D is merging out of, or we are leaving behind, third dimensional distortion. And so now we're moving upward into a more 4D based reality, which is where I mostly am there, and mostly in 5D, right? Because I don't hold a judgment of anything. I'm in divine neutrality. I'm seeing everything that's playing out. And I am basing my experience in my reality based on what I believe to be true for me. So I'm not seeing those lower distorted timelines. I'm not going to say they don't exist, because if you believe in them and you play into them, then they exist for you, certainly. But for me, it doesn't exist because I don't play into it. I don't connect into that, right? So if we have to remember that everything is a creation of what our belief system is. So those people that are struggling right now, that are angry, that are fearful, that don't want to go back to work, that don't want to, that don't want anybody not to wear a mask, right? They believe in wearing a mask and all of that. They're still playing out that third dimensional reality where it is not safe. Nothing is safe. They don't feel safe. Okay. That's a very third dimensional perspective. Those that are seeing that we are needing to move forward, move into a new way of being, a new way of looking at things, they are stepping more forward into fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional perspective with their belief system. Okay. And that higher timeline, that higher way of looking at things, that greater belief system, is the one that we need in order to move forward, so that we're not getting stuck in the old timeline playing out, where there is um, the entanglement and the entrapment and the abuse of power. That's all third dimension. We don't want to be in that. We want to see the higher timelines where this has a happy ending and the resolve is very quick, and nobody, not many suffer or die, right? If we hold that lower timeline, guess what's going to happen? We're going to see more suffering, and we're going to see more people passing away. Now, that is the purpose of the fourth dimension, as the fourth dimension acts as a bridge. It's the rainbow light frequency, the rainbow light portal bridge, and that is the bridge gateway to fifth dimension. So in order to get from third dimension to fifth dimension, we have to step into fourth dimension. Some will do that with their physical presence staying on earth as they continue to shift upward and see what is presenting, and then make the decision that they only want to see the higher timelines and step more into a fifth dimensional perspective. But for those whose souls are not meant to be here, because they are either done with their journey, they have understood and experienced everything that they've meant to understand or experience, they are going to be exiting through that fourth dimensional portal, that fourth dimensional rainbow bridge. So they'll use the virus and everything else that comes into play as a means to exit this reality. I see this all the time. People will call me and say, hey, how come my mom stubbed her toe and developed gangrene right to her heart and she passed away? It's because it became an exit. It became an opportunity for that soul to create an exit point out of the body, because it was not supposed to be here. It was not in it. It did not desire to be here any longer. Okay. So we have to look at everything from the highest timeline perspective. Now, I'm going to put that to rest because we talked about the soul's experience. I want to talk about something else that I'm seeing taking place. So I'm seeing a lot of judgment, and I'm seeing a lot of fighting, and and this is a very third dimensional perspective to hold, right? When we hold judgment, we're actually holding a lot of fear. So those who are only seeing one possibility, judging others for a different belief system, they're holding fear, okay? And that's the lower third dimensional timeline. This is not my truth. This is truth of what is, right? It is the way this works. And the more information we have on it, the better we can do in navigating this reality, okay? And I want you to think about it from this perspective. So if somebody presents to you judgment of you, then that must mean that they are showing up as your mirror because you're needing to clear something where you're holding judgment of yourself. So judgment is showing up outside of you, presenting through another so that you can clear the judgment you hold of you, because everybody is our mirror. So when I am judging myself as to what I'm posting, what I'm saying, what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, how I'm being, if I'm not working, am I being lazy? Am I feeling guilty? That's all judgment. And if I'm holding that judgment, I'm going to have somebody showing up that's going to judge me so that I can further release, right? And that's not a bad thing. We have to look at it. I don't get mad at it. If the person is really rude and obnoxious, I will, block them. That's obvious. I mean, there's no reason for that, right? We all have an opinion. Everybody should allow for that. But if you're coming onto my page and you're rude, instead of just stating your opinion, I'm going to block you. That's the bottom line, right? Because that is now, you know, uh, taking this to a whole new level. Okay. So, from another perspective, judgment. Judgment is really interesting because judgment is part of persecution. And so if you think of the throat chakra holds persecution. And it is also where we hold judgment in speaking our truth, right? We judge ourselves for speaking our truth. Now, if we are judging somebody, then we are chastising them for speaking their truth or whatever it is that we're judging them on. That judgment that is being energetically offered at that moment is not just affecting this timeline here, in this here and now. That judgment is actually affecting every timeline past and every timeline future. And if you think of it from the perspective that time is nonlinear, so everything is happening right here, right now, all timelines of the past and all timelines that have yet to occur of the future. And so when we cast judgment on somebody, that judgment that we cast goes into the collective, and that collective is present across all timelines. So if someone, let's say I'll use myself, if someone is judging me for something that I'm writing or sharing or saying, and they cast a judgment, either written or spoken, at me, it's not only affecting in this moment what is taking place, but it's affecting through all timelines, which means that if I was persecuted in what we would call a past timeline, and let's say I was an oracle and I gave information, and the person that I gave the information to, let's say a king, I was working for a king, didn't like that information, and it was warning of, let's say, a plague, didn't like that information I was presenting about the warning of a plague, he might actually tune into the collective consciousness of the fear of that information, and that judgment that's being cast right here, right now, today, going into that collective bucket is being felt by that king when he is judging what I have offered as my insight, and in that moment decides that he is going to put me to death because I've given him information that he is afraid of, that he can't handle. Okay, so the judgment we cast today goes through all timelines, past, present, and future, and has an effect on the individual's outcome in that experience, in that timeline, right? Now, that is very real. And in that reality of that playing out, one way that we can work through it, if we are the recipient of somebody else's judgment, is to see this with great clarity, understanding that it is something that is presenting to be transmuted, and we can take it and stop it in that moment instead of taking it in and feeling anything toward it. We can just take it and say, well, I understand where this is coming from, but this is clearly a judgment that they are feeling of themselves. And I am just holding the mirror for what they are not capable of healing within themselves. So I'm going to take this up a notch. And instead of getting angry, instead of getting resentful, instead of coming back with my own judgment or letting it trigger me in a way that would make it unhealthy, I am merely going to hold space in this timeline that is playing out of Christ consciousness. And in that likeness of Christ consciousness, say, what would Christ do? Would he offer back another judgment? Would he get mad? Would he be angry at the person that's casting the judgment? No, he would take it in, understand that in this moment of fear and stress, this person is acting out because they are unsure of how to deal with what is presenting in their reality. So we can easily handle and counter the judgment that comes our way if we stand in the light of truth and honor and see all as the soul that is playing out in the reality of our blueprint that we are experiencing in this now moment. Okay. So that's really important for us to understand and have that awareness that everything that is presenting, no matter what it is an opportunity for us to grow. It's an opportunity for us to go to our next level. Okay. But if we're not seeing it as that opportunity for us to grow, then we're going to experience it and let it take us offline and affect us or impact us in a negative way. So I just wanted to share that with you because I felt that that was very, very important at this time to understand when judgment is being presented. We need to kind of navigate around that judgment and see it as an opportunity for us to grow within ourselves and not hold that space. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is I've had a couple people ask me my thoughts on what's going to be transpiring and what's going to happen with all of this. And I can honestly say that I see a timeline where, the Nisara law is enacted and, we are in a place of true freedom, right? Which means that we are no longer our birth certificates and no longer chattel property, and that we are truly emancipated, truly free, right? And if you are new to following me here on YouTube, please read through some of the posts I've made on my Facebook feed because that will help you understand what it is that I'm talking about. This has to do with the Federal Reserve Bank and the Treasury being merged here in the United States. And so, what I am hearing and people asking me is what my thoughts are on the potential for another virus, because this was most likely some kind of an event that took place at a higher level, right? Which is why the president keeps calling it the invisible war. And I'm not going to get into that here because I've posted a lot about that. But what I will say is this, is that if another outbreak happens, should that happen, it is just presenting as an opportunity for those that are not meant to be here to leave the earth plane. We have to look at everything that is presenting from the soul contract, that is the fifth dimensional perspective, and see the reality that is playing out for us. Now, that's not to say that it's not sad to see people passing away and that we can't grieve that, because certainly we can. And my heart goes out to every single person who has lost anyone, a loved one, a friend, a coworker, anyone during this time, right? I know people have lost animals, and my heart truly goes out to all of you. I know how difficult that is, from my own experience at losing both of my parents, and all my grandparents are gone and everything, so it's just pretty much myself and my brother. But I also want to have you try to look at this from the higher perspective and see what is playing out in this reality has a lot to do with how the soul has chosen to experience all of this. Okay. And so if you start to look at the soul contract and start to understand from the soul perspective that this is the experience that we all came here to have, good, there is no good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is what is, right? It's in the experience. So if that should present, the worst thing that we could all do would be to go into fear, because when we're in fear, fear actually lowers our resistance. It lowers our immune system, right? That's why the masks are no good, because it actually lowers our resistance. That's why social distancing is no good, because it lowers our resistance. We need germs. We need to connect with people. We need to be in each other's fields so that we can keep getting light code updates. That's how we upgrade our light body. We upgrade through connecting with other people. We connect in many different ways. So we don't want to stop that. That's a vital part of our evolutionary ascension process, our great awakening, right? We need to continually connect with others because we activate each other's light codes and key codes. That's so super important. So I just wanted to share that with you. Again, that's just my perspective on this, but I think it's very important as I am also hearing other teachers who are holding space in the higher realms, who are doing more of the work in the higher realms as gatekeepers. I do that as like a secondary job, but my primary job is here working through trauma and stuff like that, and also the awakening and helping people shift and doing mentoring and stuff like that. So I'm not taking this from my own perspective. This is what is. This is what I am hearing from teachers that I would perceive as maybe being at my level or even higher than myself. Okay, and my guides, my higher self. I've had 4 higher selves come through, and they're all for different purposes, and the one stellaria that works within the stellar codes is always telling me that this is based on the soul's journey, based on the soul's experience. And so that is how I put together my information through all of these different sources. Some are galactic, some angelic, from different aspects that we are, right? So I hope that you found some help with this information, and I'm going to try and come back on and do another video for you guys to kind of help you navigate this. And certainly if you need independent work, please know that you can go to my website and book a session with me for one-on-one work. And to those of you that have been donating, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. It really helps, especially now. And so it just keeps the work going. It helps me maintain, my different aspects, the websites, the YouTube channel, all the things that I pay for. So I really appreciate that. And I, look forward to seeing you all and connecting with you all somewhere in the social media platforms, so that we can all commune and stay together and keep ourselves connected on those higher timelines. You want to look to the higher timelines. If you're feeling angry, frustrated, entrapped, resistant, any of that, that's a lower third dimensional distortion playing out. If you're judging others or holding judgments, again, third dimension. And it's just an awareness thing. It's not a judgment on my part, but the more information we have about where we are in the work, the better it's going to be for us, because it will help us then dig in where we need to and step up to do our work and hold more light. We need to raise that frequency. We need to come up more. So I'm only choosing to see the highest timelines. I posted on Jasera Nasera because I want people to understand that there is a silver lining at the end of this, and not to focus on just the doom and gloom, because we have to catch that higher timeline and anchor it in, which I think that we are doing. And we're all doing a wonderful job being ourselves, being unique, and being exactly where we're meant to be. Okay, so know that I love you, and I look forward to interacting with you again at some point. Go out. If you have sun, get some sun, get activated, get upgraded, and just enjoy whatever you're doing today. All right. I love you guys. Bye.